Boerne has its own bookshop. In fact, it's called the Boerne Bookshop. Hi, I'm Dale Adams, inviting you to get lost. Get lost in a good book in our relaxed and casual atmosphere. We have a wide and eclectic selection in the Boerne Bookshop. We pride ourselves on finding what you are looking for. We do author meet and greets, host writing workshops, and can connect you with a good book club. And your young ones will absolutely love our kids section at the Boerne Bookshop. And while we want you to get lost, we're easy to find, as we're in the heart of Boerne at the back of the Richter Tavern building. We are the Boerne Bookshop.
Boerne Radio 103.9 FM. Later this morning at 11:15, Meg Greer brings us God and Our Dogs. Right now, it's Ceasefire with Dale Adams and Ron Cisneros, sponsored by the Boerne Bookshop. This is Boerne Radio.
Welcome to Ceasefire, where civics meets civility and engagement meets empowerment. Ceasefire is hosted by former Boerne ISD trustee and owner of the Boerne Bookshop, Dale Adams, and by former Boerne City Council member and local insurance agent, Ron Cisneros. Ready, aim, ceasefire.
Good morning. Welcome to Ceasefire. My name is Dale Adams.
And I'm Ron Cisneros.
And welcome back to our show. Today is the first show of our new season. So we have done this for a whole year now. It's hard to believe.
It is. We had 1 year of stuff to talk about. That's incredible.
Yes,
and we haven't run out.
And we haven't run out. Every time I look down, the list gets longer and longer, and I come up, something pops in my head and said, you know what, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
So, but we covered a lot of territory. We've had a lot of interviews.
We have.
Those are some of my favorites,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like those too because I don't have to work as hard coming up with content.
Right. We do a couple questions and they just roll with it, and it's good. and we learn a lot about various elected positions and activities that people are up to around here. And it's good insight into how Boerne works.
So we started this, just as a recap, Dale, the former school board trustee, and me, the former councilman, we get together from time to time and commiserate, and people don't really understand what the school board does, or people don't really understand that city council can't do the things that they want us to do, right? And so we thought, well, how can we get that message out? And actually, I'm going to be honest. First, you wanted to do a radio show and talk about political things, and you asked me, and I said, absolutely not. I want no part of that. I'm done with that life. Get thee away from me, Satan.
But it came out of our conversations of you wanting to tell people and teach people about how to get civically involved.
Right.
I was like, let's do a radio show, and you're like, no.
Yeah. I still feel that way sometimes. Like, what am I doing? But so I went home. I told Kat, not a cat, but Kat. Kat, but right?
Yes,
for the audience out there, Kat is a woman, my wife, not an animal, not a mammal, right? Well, she is a mammal, but not a furry mammal. Yeah, it's a good thing that we have. Yeah, let's move on. Anyhow, so I told her, and she said, why'd you say no? I think she called me stupid or dumb or something. She wasn't wrong. I was being stupid. And I thought, okay, I'll do this. Let's figure out a way to talk about civics and civic engagement. And I think more important to me at this point in my life, civility. Because that is so lost. We've lost the art of communication. Oh gosh, I hate going home and getting on Facebook and looking at I live in Regent Park, and I see the Regent Park Facebook page, and there's somebody complaining about somebody, doing this or driving too fast or not mowing their weeds or just something. I'm like, golly, why can't we just talk to our neighbors? Yeah. When did we lose that ability, And then somebody will inevitably talk about Boerne losing its charm, and I just I get all wrinkled up, and it's like, well, part of that charm is talking to your neighbor.
Yeah.
That civility. That's what you're missing, that whole sitting on the front porch, talking to your neighbors, getting to know them, and it doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. At the end of the day, they're a human being. You can have good discussions with them, and if you're willing to listen more than talk, you're going to find out some things about them, and you're going to be a better communicator. And I thought, if we can do some of that in this show, then I'm all in. And I think we've done that.
I think so, too. One thing we haven't done a whole lot of yet, and I would like to maybe try some of this in the future, is have discussions where we disagree or with somebody that would disagree and have a good, solid conversation about something that's not necessarily just us agreeing on things. So we haven't done as much of that as I'd like, but we have done some. And I think we've shown people that there's a lot more nuances to the different sides on a given topic than our want to.
Yeah, I think that's something, looking back, and I think I realized this, probably in the first 2 months of the show, that you and I think a lot alike, more than I realized. The things that were different, and I shared this with you all early on, you came in a lot more relaxed than I expected you to, and I came in a little probably over-prepared, bringing in lots of papers and lots of notes and things. And I thought, wow, that's the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. I thought I'd be a little more relaxed and easygoing. And it's like, no, I'm paranoid. I'm always paranoid coming into this show.
Well, see, the difference there is that I've been in Toastmasters for 15 years.
Yes.
I've learned to just not even care what people think about how I talk. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in and do it. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't get too stressed out about it anymore.
Right.
I'm not that great at it, but it doesn't matter.
No, you're definitely relaxed when you come in here. And but back to the original topic, we think a lot alike. I agree with you. It would be nice to, maybe we need to figure out some topics we can talk about where you and I don't have agreement, or 100% agreement, or 50% agreement, and or bring people in that we know are going to disagree with us, like right from the get-go.
Yeah. That could be fun.
It could be.
But I wouldn't want it to be a gang-up kind of situation. That's what I worry about. If we two agree on something, then,
well, we could have a moderator, like being the Toastmaster. You could be the moderator, and I could be the... Yeah. If we could do the good cop, bad cop thing,
That could work.
Yeah.
That could work.
We talked about a while back, and we haven't done this yet. We talked about doing a show on abortion, and we were going to bring in a mutual friend of ours who is pro-abortion, and we were going to, I kept thinking about this. How's this going to work? So I'd take the pro-life stance, she'd take the pro-abortion stance, and then you would have to make sure... Well, like Boerne would have to set up one of those little security screening things like they have at the airport. So when we walk through the door of the studio, we make sure that nobody has any knives or guns or anything like that. And then,
I think that could be good, but it would be tough. I mean, it's always going to be tough with a contentious issue like that.
Yeah.
But I think it might be worth giving it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I'll be the fall guy. I'll be the bad guy. You just moderate.
You're good at that. One of my favorite shows that we did was actually our pilot, which didn't broadcast the first time, but it was the one about name calling.
Oh, yeah.
And I sort of thought that sort of set the theme of what the whole show is about. And it just talked about calling each other names and how that happens everywhere all the time now. And so I thought we had a pretty good show on that. I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah, I made my wife listen to that one like 4 or 5 times.
That's really... My kids have actually listened to some of them.
Have they?
Even Alex in Wisconsin he called me up and said, "Oh, you talked about me today." I was like, wow, okay, cool. So we do have an audience out there.
In Wisconsin even.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. That was kind of cool.
In the land of cheese.
In the summertime.
I'm not sure that my kids have ever heard the show.
Oh.
Yeah.
I bet they have.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I could ask them.
Yeah.
But then I'd be afraid of knowing what the answer is,
Yeah.
Well, Dad, we did, and you suck. That other guy's really good, though,
No.
He's been in Toastmasters.
You sound good.
Tell.
Jay actually complimented you. Said, Ron has like a radio voice.
Oh, that's allergies.
And I thought, well, what does that make me? She didn't answer.
A radio voice only means that I don't have a television face.
Yeah, well, there's that too. So what was your favorite interview over the past year? We've done so many of them that I was looking at the list and
my gosh. I tell you what show I really liked was Judge Cahoon.
Yeah.
She's always on fire. And by the way, I want you to know that I reached out to her before the show, and I thought she was our second guest, and she was our third show. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. Would you be willing to come back and be our second guest on our third show? And she said, absolutely. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so she'll be here in a couple of weeks to talk to us, and there are a lot of changes going on with that court.
Yes, we're getting a new court. She's
court.
gotten a promotion and all kinds of stuff. So that'd be a good conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was one of my favorite. But we've had some, my gosh, we've had Sheriff Oxer. We've had our district attorney, Nicole Bishop. We have had Mayor Frank Ritchie.
Paul Barwick was fun.
Paul Barwick
He knows a lot of history, so that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Pull stuff out of thin air that you're like, where does that come from?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's pretty neat.
We can get him back, too, because he's always got something new to talk about.
Yeah.
Just a lot. He just took a deep dive into Kendall County's history. And
he hasn't come up.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody out there, if you want to know about Kendall County history or how to find out about it, he either knows it or he knows who to connect you with. I mean, he just knows. He's connected with all that stuff.
Yeah, and he's done a wonderful job over at the Kendall County Jail Museum. And if you have not stopped by there, I highly recommend that you do.
Yeah.
And look at the history of Kendall County that he and Dean Sproul have put together. It's incredible.
Yeah. You know who also has been doing a lot of history?
Who's that?
Well, I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. That's a teaser, right?
All right.
Okay, yes. I don't like teasers, actually. But here I use one. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. This is Ceasefire with Dale and Ron. We'll be right back, and I'll wrap up the teaser. Boerne has its own bookshop. In fact, it's called the Boerne Bookshop. Hi, I'm Dale Adams, inviting you to get lost. Get lost in a good book in our relaxed and casual atmosphere. We have a wide and eclectic selection in the Boerne Bookshop, and we pride ourselves on finding what you are looking for. We do author meet and greets, host writing workshops, and can connect you with a good book club. And your young ones will absolutely love our kids section at the Boerne Bookshop. And while we want you to get lost, we're easy to find, as we're in the heart of Boerne at the back of the Richter Tavern building. We are the Boerne Bookshop. Welcome back. This is Ceasefire with Dale and Ron, and we were talking about Kendall County history. Paul Barwick's really connected, but somebody else I found out that really is starting to learn a lot is actually my landlord, Guy Sanders. He actually has the first bar in Kendall County upstairs in the tavern, and now he has the first piano down in the studio that he got recently. This guy does everything. It's incredible. His paintings are all over the place, and he's writing books and all kinds of stuff. But he's becoming very informed on Kendall County history. I wouldn't be surprised if he's sort of following Paul Barwick's footsteps.
Yeah, you see some people like that every now and then.
Yeah.
They're not even native to here, but they come in and they just get wrapped up into the history. And there's so much information out there, so much history out there. It's really cool.
Yeah, a lot has happened here.
I have one of Guy's paintings, by the way.
Do you really?
In my house, yeah. There was one that was like, oh gosh, it was like a Model T. But like it's been transformed into some sort of alien figure or something like it's like this monster robot thing. And I remember it used to be back in that hallway that takes you to the restrooms underneath the next to your bookstore. And I would look at that thing and it was just so intriguing. And I was like, I've got to have that. And so one day when I was over at the Cork and Keg, he walked in and I said, I want that. Name a price. And he did. And I took it home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Neat.
So
I've not done that yet.
Yeah, well, you should.
I should.
You should do it right now.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, Guy, Dale sells a lot of books, so probably $500 is a good price for one of your paintings. So,
thanks. That was really helpful. Another thing we covered is the amendments to the Constitution.
Yes,
and we've done several of those.
6
so far, I think it is.
We've done 6,
and that's been really neat. In our last one, actually, we had a guest.
Catherine McDaniel,
and was able to correct a lot of our misconceptions.
Yes, she was.
But But that was neat because I think a lot of times in our civic society, we don't think about these rights that are deeply established into our culture and our country, and sometimes we need to refresh ourselves to learn about them.
She brought a different perspective in
Yeah.
than I think you and I would have done on our own.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a little humbling for me because, when I reached out to her and I said, hey, you want to help us with this one? She said, well, I told her we were doing the Bill of Rights, and she said, well, where are you right now? I said, well, we're going to do the Sixth Amendment. And she said, why didn't you call me on the Fourth? I'm a specialist in that. I go around the country speaking about that. And I'm like, because I didn't know, because I'm ignorant.
Well, you're not in that legal world.
No, I'm not. But I like that show a lot.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I'll tell you another one I really like, Pastor Ricky Burke.
Yes, that was good.
Talking about loving your neighbor.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great show.
One thing we haven't gotten started on, we were going to start going over the Constitution, same way we're doing the amendments. A show here or there occasionally, just talking about the way it's structured and stuff, and we haven't really approached that yet, but I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
At some point.
One thing we did at the beginning that we stopped doing, and I thought about bringing back, is that we did sort of a civic tip of the week. I tried that. It was really difficult to kind of keep on top of everything, but I was trying to encourage people to go to a council meeting or go to a school board meeting or go to a commissioner's court meeting or go to a P&Z meeting. The calendar's always full of things to do, and I'd somehow like to get back to doing that and letting people know when these meetings take place. In all honesty, I'm here today in this chair because I got fired up about something a long time ago, right? And that put me on the path to the city council. I didn't know it at the time. It was a zoning issue, and I started going to P&Z meetings and then city council meetings, and then the next thing, getting appointed to various boards and commissions, and then I find myself in a council seat, and then I started helping people run for office, and it's just like one thing leads to another, right? And then I had that point where I'm like, no, I'm done. I want to run away from it all. But unfortunately, I knew you, and here I am in a radio booth, but it's all good. But I want people to experience government before they get angry. I don't want them to follow that path that I followed, that I see so many. It's a trap, right? And you fall into it. And instead of, I was just having this discussion with Kathy this morning, instead of walking around joy-filled, just overwhelmed with joy and gratitude and happiness for the things that you have, you're walking around miserable, right? And you're just odd to me that so many people move up here. There's a compelling reason that brings you here, right? Or there's a compelling reason for you to stay here if you're native born, and then all of a sudden the place is terrible.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, no, it's not. It's not terrible at all. You're just listening to the wrong people, or you're focused on the wrong things. Your heart has lost its gratitude. You've let stupid things get in the way of your joy.
Yep, so true.
Yeah. This goes back to what I was saying in the first segment. It's just, I see that with my neighbors. It's like, oh, so-and-so speeding. It's like, well, go meet them.
Yeah.
Go talk to them. But remember why you came to Boerne. Remember all of the things that try and recapture those eyes and that perspective that you had the first time you came here.
Yeah.
The first time you saw Main Street, the first time you saw the ducks on River Road, or the first time you were looking for a school district, a good school district to put your kids through, right? Remember those things.
Yeah.
Right? And forget about all of that other noise and static out there. Forget about all this talk about the Boerne bypass or Buc-ee's or any of that other stuff, because there are some people that will never be happy unless they're unhappy, and they tend to be the loudest people, and they can influence you and get you off center and forgetful of the things that are really important in life. And I think there are a lot of great people in this community. It's a wonderful place to live. I love being here. I love this radio show. I love this radio station. I love downtown Boerne. It's a great place.
Yeah, it is. But people, they get caught up in their day-to-day activities, and they stop seeing the wonder of a great community.
Yeah.
When they move here, they're like, okay, I've learned about Boerne. Now I'm working here, and I carry on. Instead of continue to learn about Boerne.
Right.
That's when you go to these meetings meet somebody new every day in Boerne.
Yeah.
You should. And continue your exploration of Boerne through the Civic system,
Right.
rather than just those initial, well, this is what I've learned enough now, and I don't have to learn anymore.
Yeah.
So,
And if you do that deep dive into the history of Boerne, like we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, then you start to find out that the people that came here were not, hey, let's move there, shut everything down, and keep anybody else from coming in here. It was like, grow, baby, grow, and
Yeah.
we're tired of poverty. We want, and I'm not saying that let's just go through this rampant growth, but I'm just saying let's get an understanding of the people who actually developed this place and what their ideas were for it. And it wasn't, let's just mire ourselves in poverty and, in spirit and in
come on.
wealth.
That can be so much fun. I mean, come on. Doesn't everybody want to just not have anything and have a mud floor? You should be grateful. And speaking of that, I'm going to talk about our book of the day. At the Boerne Bookshop, we have a lot of different journals, and we have a lot of grateful journals, which are neat because you're supposed to talk about something you're grateful for each day, and I think that would help people to appreciate where they're at,
Mhm.
and they would curb some of that negativism. Today, the journal I brought in was do one thing every day that makes you smarter, which is something that I don't do, but I'd like to do. And it's just a neat little journal, and we got it at the Boerne Bookshop. It's kind of cool, just day to day.
Dale, give me an example from your book.
Okay, so here's something that George Bernard Shaw wrote, which not necessarily one of my favorite guys, but here we go. I just opened up the middle here. He said, when I was young, I observed that 9 out of 10 things I did were failures. So I did 10 times more work to get to the successes. And the whole point of that is that focus on your successes and work for the successes, and the failures, just you learn from them, but they move back. This is from Samuel Johnson. The true art of memory is the art of attention. You start paying attention to things, then maybe you'll remember them. And if you're not remembering things, maybe that means you're not paying attention to anybody,
Yeah.
which could be an issue.
I like Samuel Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about him before, too.
Yes, we have.
Yes, that's
we
right.
have.
Isn't he the one that said the patriot is the last refuge of the scoundrel?
I believe so. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't even remember.
No, I can't.
You weren't paying attention.
No, I wasn't.
This is when I told you that his reference was to the Patriot Party, not to patriotism.
What show was that?
Good question.
You weren't paying attention.
I have no idea what show that was, but I know we talked about it.
We did.
Where do we go from here?
Well,
More of the same, I guess. But
and some change.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to make some changes. We've already made some changes. One of those changes was when we talked about the show before we recorded the first episode. I was so focused on civility that I never wanted to say I'm a Republican, right?
Yeah.
I never wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about issues from a non-political point of view. And then I found that was very difficult to do.
because everything is political
Yes.
now.
And
Yes.
I am who I am,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
That is going to come out in the things that I talk about, right? I'm a Republican. It's going to come out, that point of view. But what we'll do in the future, and I think what we've done, is that when we have somebody in that has that opposing view, is we're going to practice those things that we preach, or, the things that you've learned in
Yeah.
Toastmasters, the things that I've learned in Rotary, and, we're going to communicate with them. We're going to keep an open mind. We're going to listen more than we talk, listen for understanding, as you would say. But to try and pretend that we are not who we are, that's
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sort of disingenuous. So I think that's okay that we've done that. But I do definitely want to try and address issues from multiple angles. I mean,
Yeah.
even when we talk about things, sometimes I'll do devil's advocate side and sort of bring up other issues that contradict what I may actually believe.
Yeah.
But I bring them up to make a point.
Yeah. Well, so we got another year.
Another year.
All right.
It'll
I'm
be a
looking
great
forward
year.
to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys join us. And if you ever want to go back and listen to them, they're all on BoerneRadio.com. You can listen to any one of them. They've all the different topics. You could listen to them forever now.
Oh my gosh. Well, maybe we ought to go through them again and then have Boerne make some disappear.
No. But we could open up comments, right?
Oh, that would be
Should we do
interesting.
that? I don't know if that's kind of scary because sometimes the comments go out of control, but we could try that. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, we do post the shows to YouTube, and so that means there is a comment section on there.
That
so
one's open. Yeah.
hop on there.
Oh my
Create
goodness.
some dialogue.
I should get on the internet and go to YouTube.
I had no idea. I knew we were on Spotify and something.
Yeah.
Now they tell you.
Now, yeah, YouTube. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Okay.
There's no videos, just the voices coming out of the
That's-
speakers.
that's
but,
good.
But you
Well,
can
that-
definitely leave comments.
We don't want to scare anybody. So we don't want the video.
Yeah.
They look like that. Ooh, you know.
Well, can I just honor you guys, though? I am very proud of what comes out of the speakers here with Ceasefire. Not only, again, as you said, having a civil conversation, but the spirit that's behind it. Yes, I'm a Christian. That's no secret. And when you guys quote the Apostle Paul as it complements whatever the current topic is, that's always music to my ears, that you don't know who's listening, but you may inspire someone to go, I need to go look that up or go find that book at the Boerne Bookshop.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for organizing this and doing all the tech side, all that other stuff. Getting it actually out there.
Yeah. We'd never do it.
That's the miracle of the body, if you will.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Indeed.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening this year, and we'll see you throughout the next year. This is Ceasefire, brought to you by the Boerne Bookshop.
Boerne has its own bookshop. In fact, it's called the Boerne Bookshop. Hi, I'm Dale Adams, inviting you to get lost. Get lost in a good book in our relaxed and casual atmosphere. We have a wide and eclectic selection in the Boerne Bookshop, and we pride ourselves on finding what you're looking for. We do author meet and greets, host writing workshops, and can connect you with a good book club. And your young ones will absolutely love our kids section at the Boerne Bookshop. And while we want you to get lost, we're easy to find, as we're in the heart of Boerne at the back of the Richter Tavern building. We are the Boerne Bookshop.